In this video, we will be talking about the functions in Python, how to define them, what do they do, why do we need them, and what are the cases that you can use the functions in. But before we get into that, we need to know what the function is. In Python, a function is a set of lines or a number of lines that are related to each other that perform a certain task given a certain set of inputs. For me, the easiest way to understand a function is to think of it as a machine with several inputs and conditions. Whenever these inputs are fulfilled and the conditions are fulfilled, the machine does something based on these inputs and the conditions and then gives you a result. So let's start with how we can define a function. In order to define a function in Python, we use the def keyword for define followed by function name, parentheses and a colon, and then we can insert some code here within the function that will do or perform several actions, or if not, we can simply use the pass keyword. The pass keyword here tells Python that this function is defined. Even if there is no code, there will be code in the future, so do not break the file. Now this is a very simplistic function. We have just a def keyword, then the function name, parentheses, and then pass. A simple example of function with parameters would be a function that will take a certain input and perform some calculation on it. For example, if I want to take a number and output the square of the number, I can define a function to square, take the input number, and then I can return the number squared. What the return keyword does here is that it sends the output of the function back to the caller where the function is originally called. Now if I do to square and let's say I want to square the number 125, it will output the square of the number 125. However, if I remove the return statement and do this again, I will get no output because I have not returned the output of the function to the caller, in this case the Python console. So let's put our return statement back here. And on a similar note, we can define a doCube function as well. It will obviously return the cube of the number. Let's do the doCube 125 again. I get the answer. Now these are very simplistic functions. It takes one input, it gives the output. Although these are necessary steps to learn, the scope of the functions is not limited to a single input and a single output. You can perform multiple complex tasks in functions. You can perform several tasks at the same time in functions. You can even create functions within a functions that the functions use within themselves. The functions. With these types of examples in functions, the question still remains, well, why should I use the functions? For example, I can just simply do 125 raised to power 3, 125 raised to power 125, and I will get my answer. So why use the functions? In order to answer that, let's suppose for homework you are given 5 numbers. The first number is, let's say, num1 equals 15. Second number is num2 20, then 25, 30, and 35. And what you are asked to do for each number is add 15 to the number, take its log 10, take its reciprocal, then multiply it with 17, square the resulting number, and divide it by the cube of the original number. Now this is fairly complex task, but it is pretty simple to perform. Let's say we start with our number 15. What we have to do is we have to add 15. We have to take log 10 of the resulting number, we have to take its reciprocal, then multiply the number with 17, square the resulting number, and finally divide it by the cube of the original number. Now let's run this. Let me just fairly simple. We just did what we were asked. However, now we have a problem at hand. We were asked to do this for 5 numbers. Now let's say I want to do this again for the number 20. What I can do is I can copy this all, paste it, and just change this and this. And then for the third number, what I can do is copy it again, change this, change this, change this. Similarly for fourth and fifth number as well, change this, change here, change here, and for the fifth number, and then I can change the value for these numbers so that I can get different results every time for my specific numbers. Now I do have these numbers. Let me just print them out. So these are the answers to the numbers and with the mathematical problem that we were given. Now these are 5 numbers and I have used 30, 79, almost 50 lines to perform the calculations and to see the results as well. Now this is where the functions can be used and they can save so much time and code space. Now these are only 5 numbers. Imagine you have 500 numbers. The code and the length of the task will get enormous and it will be almost impossible to do it every time. You will make mistakes, you will mess something up, and you will definitely mess something up. So to avoid that, we can define functions. We can use functions. Let's say define do homework function's aim, but now we want a parameter here that will be our number. Let's say number, and we can just copy all of this here in the function and rename it to this, and finally we can return the result because that is what we want. Number. Okay, let me just comment this out. Okay, now we have defined a function that what it does is it takes the number, adds 15, takes it log 10, takes it reciprocal, multiply it with 17, takes the square, and divide the resultant number with the cube of the original number. And finally, for the function, we know that if we want to get our output back, we have to return the value. Now let's run the file. We know that the answer to the 15 value is this, so let's see, do homework 15, get the same result. Now the magic of function is that you can just instead of doing like 50 lines of code, I have done the same thing in 15 line of codes. Now this can be further optimized by using a list of numbers. Let me just show you that as well. Homework numbers. So we have a list of numbers that we were given for homework, for which we had to do all of this. So what we can do here is, for number in homework numbers, print do homework and number. Now this will do the same thing, this will create the same results, and now we have came to from 50 lines to 15 lines, and now we are only down to 13 lines. Now even if we increase the numbers here, 40, let's say 45, 46, 47, 50, 21, 100, 500, whatever the number of parameters or the number of numbers in the homework number list is, it can just do the same thing within these 13 line of codes that we have defined. So this is the magic of functions. You can do repeated tasks with just a single function call. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.